There was a time when the name Lincoln didn't just mean luxury. It meant arrival. Not loud, not brash, but bold in a way that whispered power. A Lincoln wasn't built to race you off the line. It was built to make you stop and stare when it passed. To pull up slow, low, and effortless. And leave you wondering who the hell was in the back seat. Long before the market was overrun with crossovers and badge engineering, Lincoln was building cars that felt like statements, machines with purpose. Cars that didn't need to prove anything because they already knew exactly what they were. And some of them? They weren't just Lincolns. They were legends. Like the 1961 Continental, the one with the suicide doors. A car that rewrote the rulebook on what an American luxury sedan could be. Clean lines, slab sides, and a presence that didn't ask for attention. It demanded it. This wasn't chrome overload, it was restraint, taste, the kind of elegance that looked even better pulling up to the White House than it did parked outside a downtown jazz club. Kennedy rode in one, Sinatra kept one, and everyone else wished they could. Then came the 1940 Lincoln Continental Coupe. This wasn't just one of the greatest Lincolns, it was one of the greatest American cars, period. A personal luxury car before that term even existed. Built under Edsel Ford's watch, it wasn't designed by committee. It was sketched because Edsel wanted something beautiful to drive on vacation. That design turned into a production model so stunning, the Museum of Modern Art literally called it a work of art. V12 powered, hand-built. It didn't just set a tone, it started a legacy. And what about the 1979 Lincoln Continental Mark V? It was a land yacht in every sense of the word. Long, heavy, opulent. The Cartier edition had an actual Cartier clock on the dash. This wasn't subtle, it was stately. And under the hood, a 400 cubic inch V8 that didn't care about cornering. It was built to float, to cruise, to arrive in style without spilling your drink. The Mark V wasn't for everyone. It was for those who already had everything. Then there's the 1956 Continental Mark II. Technically, it wasn't even badged as a Lincoln. It was its own sub-brand, a halo car meant to outclass the best from Europe, built by hand, priced higher than a Rolls-Royce. Every piece was crafted, not assembled. It was so overbuilt, Ford reportedly lost money on every single one. And they didn't care, because the Mark II wasn't about profit, it was about prestige. Elvis owned one. So did Frank Sinatra. It was the ultimate flex in the era before flexing had a name. The 1969 Lincoln Continental Mark III was a personal luxury coupe with serious swagger. Long hood, short deck, hidden headlights, and more muscle than you'd expect. This was Lincoln's answer to the Cadillac Eldorado. And it didn't just compete, it redefined the class. The grille looked like it came off a Rolls, but the rest of the car? Pure Detroit cool, power everything, real wood, and a V8 that rumbled just right. This wasn't a grandpa car, this was a boss's car. Let's not forget the 1984 Lincoln Town Car Signature Series. By the mid-80s, the Town Car had become a staple of American luxury. And this trim? Peak plush. Padded Landau roof, wire wheels, and that unmistakable hood ornament that floated like it was too good to be attached to steel. This was the car of choice for CEOs, pastors, and anyone who appreciated comfort over cornering. It was soft, slow, and proud of it. The 1958 Lincoln Continental convertible was big even by 50s standards, over 229 inches of chrome-draped drama. The fins were massive, the taillights looked like jet thrusters, and the dashboard had more switches than a spaceship. It was Lincoln going full-blown futuristic, and somehow pulling it off. Few cars have ever combined elegance and excess so unapologetically. It wasn't just a convertible, it was a mobile lounge. Then came the 2002 Lincoln Blackwood, a luxury pickup that didn't make sense, and that's exactly why it's unforgettable. It had the body of an F-150, the heart of a Navigator, and the bed of a furniture truck. The Blackwood was misunderstood, overpriced, and completely over the top. But 2 decades later, it's one of the rarest Lincolns out there, and collectors are finally giving it a second look. Maybe it was ahead of its time, or maybe it was just weird enough to be cool. And somewhere between obscurity and greatness sat the 1990 Lincoln Town Car Cartier Edition. This wasn't flashy, it wasn't fast, but it was perfect at what it did. Deliver unmatched comfort, smooth power, and more legroom than a Manhattan condo. The Cartier badging added that quiet nod to those who knew luxury wasn't about noise, it was about knowing. Some Lincolns weren't just built to be driven, they were built to be remembered, like the 1939 Lincoln Zephyr 512. This was the car that made Lincoln a serious contender. Sleek, Aerodynamic and powered by a smooth 12-cylinder engine, the Zephyr was Detroit's answer to Art Deco on wheels. It didn't scream for attention, it just cruised past you like it owned the road. The lines were sculpted, the chrome was subtle, and the ride was butter smooth. This was when luxury meant more than size, it meant style. Then there was the 1998 Lincoln Navigator, the SUV that changed the game. Before the Escalade, before the luxury SUV wars kicked off, Lincoln dropped a bombshell. The Navigator took full-size brute force and wrapped it in stitched leather and polished wood. It was big, it was bold, it was the first SUV that said, "I'm rich and I know it." And suddenly, Lincoln had a whole new identity, no longer just for grandfathers, but for athletes, executives, and anyone tired of settling for basic. Step back into the 1950s and you'll find the 1953 Lincoln Capri. Not the flashiest Lincoln, but one of the fiercest. It shocked the racing world by dominating the Carrera Panamericana, one of the deadliest open-road races in history. A luxury sedan outrunning sports cars across Mexican deserts? That wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. The Capri came back with trophies and proved Lincoln could do more than glide. It could fly. Now let's talk about something truly out there. The 1977 Lincoln Versailles. Some call it a rebadged Ford Granada. Others say it was the first attempt at an American compact luxury sedan. Either way, it was ambitious. Real wood trim, early use of clear coat paint, and a designer interior with more detail than cars twice the price. Sure, it didn't sell like crazy, but in retrospect, it was Lincoln trying something bold before the industry caught on. The 1966 Lincoln Continental Coupe came from an era when two doors meant power and prestige. This wasn't a sports car, it was a land-based jet, trimmed in chrome and balanced like a yacht. The front end was squared off aggression, the back, smooth and tapered. Under the hood, the 462 V8 didn't mess around. The coupe brought all the presidential class of the four-door, but with a hint of rebellious edge. There's also the 2003 Lincoln LSV8, a sleeper through and through. It didn't shout for attention. It didn't come with massive chrome grills or retro styling, but under the surface, Jaguar-derived chassis, rear-wheel drive, a 5-speed manual on early models, and a tight, confident ride that finally gave American drivers a taste of what Lincoln could do when it aimed for performance instead of just plush. It didn't sell like it should have, but those who drove one, they knew. And then there's the 1955 Lincoln Futura. You might not know it by that name, but paint it black, add a red bat symbol, and suddenly you're staring at the Batmobile. Built as a concept car, the Futura was decades ahead of its time. Giant bubble canopy, jet-age fins, a dashboard that looked like it belonged in a spaceship. It never went into production, but it became the most famous Lincoln ever filmed. And even today, the bones of that car live on in pop culture like no other. Some Lincolns were presidential, some were experimental, some were just built so damn well they didn't need anything flashy at all. But each one carried that same DNA: quiet confidence, unstoppable comfort, and a presence you couldn't fake. Because a true Lincoln didn't need to roar to prove anything. It just rolled in, parked easy, and let everyone else remember why it mattered.